Hi, today's good person to know is Martyn Dawes. He's founder of Coffee Nation, a company he started in the 1990s, long before Starbucks came to the UK. And his idea bred from the notion that he wanted to put products into newsagents, and that's exactly what he did. He put coffee machines into shops, and his business grew to the point that he sold it in 2008 for £23 million. His talk was on the advice he would give entrepreneurs, and I really hope you carry on watching because Martyn gave some fantastic tips. He made a lot of mistakes, and at one point he was a minuscule away from being insolvent had he not had a eureka moment thanks to a non-paying customer. Martyn says detach yourself from the journey, slow down so that you can work faster, and a business plan isn't necessary until it's absolutely necessary. And he's even written a book called Wake Up and Sell the Coffee, which I suggest you read if you want even more inspiration and tips. I hope you enjoy this video and that Martyn's advice and personal story resonates enough for you to do something different. Maybe it's about taking some time out and just contemplating on where you are and where you want to be. This video is beneficial to anybody on that entrepreneurial journey. So thanks for watching.
I read an article about a photocopier company that put photocopiers as newsagents. And I liked the business model, and I thought maybe I could find another product that I could put into newsagents and convenience stores along the same lines. And that was how Coffee Nation got started. I then disappeared off to New York, saw how coffee was taking off over there, and thought, aha, that's my idea. So that's what I brought back to the UK. I remember standing on a corner, street corner in Manhattan, and there was a coffee bar called Starbucks on the one corner, which I'd heard something about, but of course they weren't in the UK at the time. And I was standing next to a convenience store that was selling cups of coffee, but it was filtered coffee, $1 a cup. Not very glamorous stuff, but it was flying out of the doors, and I thought, aha, that's what I could do. It doesn't matter where the good idea comes from, it can come from anywhere in the world. You know, in '96, of course, there were no coffee bars in the UK. Coffee Republic, they started back end of that year. Seattle Coffee Company started in '97, '98. They were then bought by Starbucks, of course, in '99. And I think in '99, when we wrote our business plan that we then raised our private equity funding from, the coffee bar market was about £50 million in the UK, forecast in a couple of years' time. Now it's over £2 billion. I think entrepreneurship is a journey, really, as much about yourself as it is about a business. So it really is you holding up a mirror to yourself and learning a lot about yourself. And of course, it's painful. Because if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, that means you've got to change. And there's no such thing as an overnight success. My company was an overnight success. It just happened to take 12 years. And I made lots of mistakes, you know, writing a business plan, doing all the things that conventionality teaches you've got to do. You know, 5, 6, 7 years later, the challenges were very different. It was about me not doing it all. It was about me leading a group of other amazing people that were then articulating that vision into a growing business. It was about managing shareholders. It was about raising the right type of money at the right time. So, you know, the game changes and it gets bigger and you've got to grow with it. A bit of advice that I would give, try and always detach yourself on the journey. You can work on your business, not just in it. And I remember a point where I was very busy, sort of I was almost like a headless chicken running around. But so many people are moving so fast and trying to move so fast that they miss where the power lies. And the power lies in the quiet times and in the reflection and in the thoughts and in the moments when you get away from the business day to day and actually think about, well, what is my purpose? Where do I want to be? Start with the end in mind. What's the goal? It was really down to me and being in that singular space of, if this is going to happen, I've got to find the answer. I hadn't yet found out what. So I stopped running the business. I had one employee and I said, you look after it, I'm going to disappear and I'm going to go around our sites and I'm just going to float. And I'm going to switch my phone off and I'm going to think and I'm going to contemplate and I'm going to try and connect with and find the lever that we're not pulling. And it was in that moment that I had, you know, during that period that I had a eureka moment. Someone came up to me who was a customer and I thought, great, he's going to buy a cup of coffee. And he didn't, but he did tell me why he wouldn't. And in that single interaction, it gave me my breakthrough thinking. Don't play where everybody else is playing. You know, don't jump onto a bandwagon. The knack is actually to stand back from that and actually look at what will be the bandwagon in a few years' time and actually just judge that sense of timing. You've got to finesse it to work out where the opportunity is going to lie. You've got to look at what's coming around the corner. If it's in front of you, it's probably too late. The eureka moment may come right at the beginning, and some people nail it from day one. I mean, for me, it was sort of 11:59. The clock was ticking. I was technically insolvent, so it was kind of, I knew my back was somewhat against the wall. But I didn't give up hope. My mantra was that, taking the point of resilience, I would never, ever, ever give up, and I would do whatever it took. I've been in to see my accountant about making sure that I ended it in an elegant way, and in no way ran a risk of being struck off as a director in the future and wanted to start something else, because I just literally couldn't see a way out of it. And at that point, I just said, well, I'm going to have sort of one last go, and that's when I went out and just floated around some of the sites we had, and that's when I bumped into that customer, or non-customer, but he gave me his advice. I was selling what he could make by putting the kettle on in his office. And he said, if you want me to buy a cup of coffee in a place like this, which incidentally I think is a great idea, it's got to be an awesome product, it's got to knock me over. And what I was, instead of that, I was just selling an average product at an average price. My mistake had been thinking I couldn't afford real espresso making equipment because it was very expensive, which was a fact. But I also thought that people would pay for a gourmet, expensive cup of coffee in a neighbourhood store or a petrol station. Because they'd only expect to buy what they'd make at home, a cup of Nescafe or whatever. And that was what I got wrong. I put costs first rather than the customer. So when I wowed the customer, that's when the sales took off. I think what I would say is that companies that really prosper and are sustained over the long term usually do have a big idea at the core. There is a purpose that goes way beyond profit. There's a vision of how they want to change the world in some way. Don't be in too much of a hurry to start a business. Look for something that's wrong that could be put right. Look for something that could be made better. Look for something where you could be different. Sort of an expectation somehow, I think in UK society, that it's all going to happen overnight, and it doesn't. And there's a beauty in hard work, actually. If you've got something that you can commit yourself to and be passionate about, that's the most wonderful thing in the world. Not to think smaller, but to slow down, and actually slow down so they can hear more and then move quicker. I think in a sort of kind of spiritual way, I think the universe rewards. If you put the energy into it, there's a payback. My commitment to myself was I would do literally whatever it took. So when I realised that I didn't need instant coffee machines, I needed these expensive bits of kit that I couldn't afford, and I didn't have any money to pay for them, and I was technically insolvent, the only way was to go and find a company and convince them to lend those machines to me on the basis that I'd do business with them if it worked. And I remember going to see Texaco, not far from here in Canary Wharf, and presenting to somebody very senior in the company. And she sort of said, yes, we'd love to do trials with you, sort of half an hour before I stopped speaking, because I was just so passionate and knew I had to almost overwin and overconvince. And she tapped me on the knee and she said, Martyn, yeah, we're in. Let's go to trial and get me the contract. If you're serious about building a growth business, it comes down to a singular point of focus and clarity. And don't embrace things that are just sort of traits of society unless they're positively going to aid and support you in achieving your goal.